Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm just gonna give you the working demo of my new application, or I would say a platform, which actually detect the AI hype around any AI tools. This was a long awaited from my side because I'm just getting a lot of requests where people are asking whether this tool is good or that tool is good because every platform is having an AI component in, right? Whether it's a ideally or it's a agentic AI or it's AI agents, whatsoever you just name it, everywhere we have a AI related component. And when anyone asks me, I mean, on what basis we can say whether this AI is really going to add a value for me for my day-to-day work, then how can I assess that, right? And that is where I just thought that let me just collect the information based on which I should be able to find out whether the idea and the concept behind any AI tool, technology, or the framework is hype or it's really going to give us any kind of value add or not. This application is in a very initial stage. I will still, try to think about it, how we can make it more intelligent and more effective. But as you can see on my screen, the thing which I have done is I just divided a main 4 categories on which I have a set of questions where someone who wants to just check whether the AI tool or the framework or the technology which is being offered is really going to add any value or not. So what are those categories, right? This is my GitLab repo where I just put it, the entire code base for the application which you are seeing on my screen, right? So now here, if you just see what I have done, I just divided 4 category to use to assess, any AI tool. The one is the technical foundation. What is the technical foundation? So I created a 7 questions in a technology related stuff. The questions are very simple. Does the vendor clearly explain how their AI works? That's very important question to ask whenever any vendor reach out to you to understand what he is actually offering, right? And then you have to decide from the scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is completely disagree, 5 is completely agree, and just see what kind of response he gives. And then you have to select the score accordingly. Second question, are there any concrete technical specification available? Because most of the time you will find that people are not sharing the specification of the technology behind that, right? They are using a very vague word, very loaded word where it would be very difficult for you to sense that what kind of technical specification is used to build that AI solution. Second one, next one, that do they provide a measurable performance benchmark? This is really important. Leaving some large language models, right, where we have a lot of performance benchmarks. The reason is there are a lot of tight competition, among the various companies. And so they are compelled to just provide this because that's the only way they can differentiate their large language model performance. But when it comes to some AI solutions, right, getting this performance benchmark is really hard. So you have always asked whether they have a performance benchmark based on what they are offering. Like, okay, this AI is going to improve this and that. You have to ask for the performance benchmark. And then you have to rate it here. Is there evidence of a continuous learning and the improvement? And in the AI world, we really need to understand if there is a continuous learning for the AI-based solution is there or not, right? It's very important. So your AI solution should be self-learnable, right? Then do they have a qualified technical team member? So you have to really see who all are involved in building that solution. That's really important. And you have to figure it out what kind of capability those technical team members are having. The next, but last but not the least, are system limitation openly being discussed, right? So are they sharing what kind of limitation their solution is having? So these 7 questions, if you ask, and if you are able to rate these questions answered by the vendor, and if you just select the score, then it would be very nice. The next category is business, right? And if you just see, I have mentioned, okay, if I just get the answer based on the scale of 1 to 5, then my weightage would be 30% from the technical standpoint. Next one is a business. So again, we have a few questions. Is there a measurable ROI, return on investment, or a business impact data? Does the solution address a genuine business problem? How does it compare to a non-AI alternative? So you really need to keep in mind, you have to see whatever the solution AI tools are providing you. Is there a non-AI alternative or is there or not? And you have to just compare that part as well. And you have to look this answer, you have to look for an answer from a vendor, whether they have done this homework before they just build the solution or not. To really see if the AI-based solution is far better than the non-AI solution or it's just a hype. So now the next question is the AI complexity justified by the problem scale? So we really need to see what kind of problem that AI solution is solving and whether that is really a right potential candidate for an AI-based solution or not. It should not be like you just build an AI-based solution just because it's a hype in the market and you want to sell that quickly, right? Again, a very important question. The next, last but not the least, are there clear success metrics defined? You have to ask these questions and you have to judge, the vendor's response on all these questions, and accordingly you have to mark here the scale. Next one is the implementation. This is also very important. If you really want to use the AI tool, you have to understand what kind of implementation methodology is being used, right? Is this production ready or still an experimental? It's very, very important because most of the solution right now is not reached to the point where you can directly use in a production environment. So you have to ask these questions and understand where those tools and solutions are, right? Then the data quality requirement has to be clearly specified, right? If you want to change something, if you want to fine tune something, or if you want to train anything, whatever is related to data, you have to really figure it out whether they are clearly mentioning what kind of a data is required if you want to do some future amendment, right? The next one is there a realistic implementation timeline? So if they are saying that, okay, these are the current implementation and these are some future implementation, which are very compelling, very attractive, but you should not fall into that hype, right? You really need to ask the question and you have to see what kind of answer they are giving. Accordingly, you have to choose the scale here. Are there contingency and rollback plans? You have, this is really important. If you just implement it, how you can easily roll back that if something goes wrong, what kind of mitigation plan you have. These kind of thing actually gives you how professional the team behind who is building this solution and the tool for you. Next one is ongoing maintenance clearly defined? So these are very simple question, very generic question, but you should definitely ask these questions. I know a lot of us, we know all these questions, but when it comes to just asking these questions, you can use this application and you can ask these questions and just sense what kind of response they are giving accordingly. You can say this. You can just rate the scale. The last but not the least is risk, right? What kind of risk? Is there any risk and the failure is upfront being admitted by the vendor or not? Are potential risk and the failure discussed? Is there evidence or a bias mitigation measure? Are data privacy and security measure adequate? So this is again a very important and very, very urgent topic, because without privacy and security, we really need to understand these AI tools, especially which are developed over the large language model. You have to be very conscious. You have to be very, very careful to assess what kind of data privacy and the security measure and the implementation is done by the team which is behind the solution. Does the vendor have a long-term viability? This is again very subjective, but you have to understand this part as well. I know most of you know all these questions, but this is a single place where you can categorize and you can scale all this. Are there reference customer with the similar use cases? Again, if any customer is using, you can ask this question, who all are currently using it, and you can just check with them. You can see the credibility of those customers, and then you can just make your decision like what kind of scale, what's from the one they are doing. I just selected 333 and you can just select, whatever you want. And these are some risk indicator. You can just ask these questions and judge user excessive buzzword without substance. So if they are using a very fancy word, which are very, being frequently used to just have a compelling reason to sell their product, right? So you have to keep in mind all these things. You have to judge that and you have to click on this. Refuse to explain a technical details by just saying it's a proprietary secret and all. You have to keep a watch on this, right? This is really important. Claims universal applicability across all industries. Check this, whether they are saying this, because we have to be very careful when we are selecting any solution. If our problem is specific to a domain or an industry, we have to look for the solution which are specifically designed, developed for that industry. It should not say that it is applicable everywhere, because this is a sign of something which is goofy going on. Promises, unrealistic timeline. So these are very simple thing, but I just try to put it everything in an application so that we have a single place where we can put all these information to the application. So behind the scene, this application is going to calculate and give you the actual outcome, whether that solution or the product which vendor is trying to sell you is really going to add any value to you, or it is really going to make your team day-to-day work more effective and efficient and optimized, right? Now the next one is never mention limitation, failure, challenge. It's a very good indication whether whosoever is reaching out to you, whether they are telling about the limitation, failure, and the challenges upfront or not. Vague about data requirement or data handling. Again, as I'm saying, AI-based tools are very heavily dependent on data. So we have to understand they are mentioning how the data is required to be used in an AI. Whatever the solution they are building, we should not be keeping our eyes blind on that aspect, which is really important. And check what kind of information they are sharing on that. No reference customer or case study. If there is no case study, no existing customer, sign of a little bit of messy thing over there, right? So we have to be very careful on that. Lack of qualified technical staff and leadership. Again, very important. We have discussed this, but you have to keep a check on this, right? Once you have all these information, you can just click on these by just mentioning the scale, and then you can just click any of the risks which you feel could happen based on your interaction with the vendor, right? Once you have, I just put it all the 333, we can just make it something 5 here randomly, okay, just to check the the accuracy of our assessment. Okay, and then if we click on this, let's come here, we will be having an assessment result. Please enter a vendor name, which is important. We can say let's say I just put my synthetic data generator and validator, which I'm trying to build now, right? And then we can quickly run this. Okay, let's quickly come here and see. Now assessment completed for synthetic data generator and validator. Score is 71%. Level is low, which is quite an indication and the alarming sign for us. This is a summary. Let's quickly see that. So now here we can see assessment label, low value risk flags are 3 because we have select 3 risk indicator, right? Let's get into the detail where the things will become more interesting for us. Here we can see all the graphs related to the synthetic data generator and the validator. We can see for each category, which is technical, business, implementation, and risk, how, based on your scale, where it lies, right? So the ideal condition is we should have 100 score, but you can see we don't have 100, right? Based on the weight, because I have used the weighted like technical, the questions are having a high weightage, whereas, the business is 25%, implementation is 20%, and risk is 25%. The technology is something which is highest to 30%. So according to that, this is what the category performance, right? Then we see the risk flag analysis. Safe area is 62%, 38% is, you have to keep in mind what kind of risk adoption you have or risk appetite you have, and then you have to decide. Weighted score breakdown. Here you can see the actual score versus the max possible. So here we have a max possible. So you can see that where each category is lagging and by how much, right? So that is what we can compare here. And the recommendation priority, whether high, low, and a medium, right? So this is what the visual says, and then this is the detailed report which you can understand. Executive summary. Significant concern identify across multiple areas. Proceed with extreme caution or the consider alternative. Basically, if you have this kind of a scale, then what this tool is telling you, it's good but not that good. If alternatives are there, then you should evaluate the alternative rather than go with this. It's 71% based on whatever we have captured so far, right? So the technical foundation, we can see how much is the scoring: 21, 15, 15 out of 20, 19 out of 20. Risk flag identify, we just know what all 3 risks are there, because based on the risk, it's actually just change the numbers, and that is what the logic I have put it in a background. And then we have a recommendation: proceed with caution. Significant concern identified, so it's not very good because we have a very legitimate concern which we need to address with the vendor. Consider postponing until concerns are addressed. So these concerns are really important, and you have to seek for the response from vendors. And again, warning: address, identify risk factor before proceeding. So you have to keep all these things in mind. And then we have this download PDF option. You can generate the PDF, right? And once this PDF generated, you can download it. Once it is downloaded, you can come here and you can just quickly see this. Whatever information I have shown you on my application, you can see that in a PDF, and then you can just share with your vendor and you can just, ask for the clarification or the concern which we have identified. So this is what this application is. I know this is a very initial stage of this application, and I know there are a lot of improvements which I am going to do in this application, because this application seems to be very important one for me, because I am also getting reach out to my multiple, vendors. Recently, I just got reached by the Windsurf team, where they have given me the idea and they are asking me to evaluate that and give the feedback. I will just do some kind of, analysis, not only manually just utilizing that, but I will be just putting these questions to them, ask the answer and try to sense in which scale I have to rate them, and accordingly I will get this assessment result and see what kind of question I need to ask. I know we can add some email as well, like what kind of email to be generated automatically with the concern, what kind of concern, what kind of question to be asked. Automatically that email can be generated with the questions. We can reach out to vendors directly. We can have all these kind of feature in this application, but this is just a very initial stage where I just put together this application as a proof of concept, because I wanted to give myself a confidence. Okay, this kind of application is really something which I can build, right? So I'm really happy based on what I have built. This really seems to be an important application to exist in the market, and I will just try to keep adding as much as information I can add. The next feature which I wanted to add into this, to just have a multiple tools vendor. So we can just pick two vendors at least minimum, where we can compare both of them based on these scores in a different categories, which this application actually covers, to see which alternative and which option is far greater valuable for us and having a less risk, right? So that is the next feature I will try to work upon and just implement that. That's it from my side. And one more thing, if you really want to participate in this is my GitLab repo. And if you need access, I can quickly give you the access, because it has all the details, whatever the concern and the question you will be having, how the logic is designed, what kind of validation is being done. You can just read through this, all the entire thing which I just captured here, and you can just understand how the values, how the scores are being calculated, how the risk is evaluated, how it is doing all the magic which you just saw in the working demo, right? So as always, if you really want to participate, send me an email. I will just try to invite you on my repo, based on your interest. Definitely I want like to see what kind of interest you have and how much curious you are to work with me on this, because I really need a serious participant in this, because this application is not going to be easy, and we have to be very innovative to just build the next feature, whatever we feel like this application can be made more intelligent and distracting. That's it from my side for this video. If you have a suggestion or a feedback or an improvement or a new feature you want to implement in this, just let me know in the comment section. I would love to incorporate that, and I would really want to hear your feedback on this application. And if you really like this video, give a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed for my channel, please subscribe for my channel as well. And once again, thanks for watching this. Stay healthy and keep learning new things.